Oh, it's your boy Stokes. Stokes. Here for the week four, not week four, wrap up show. At the time of this, video, there have been 7 games played or 7 games unplayed left in the league for week three. So the stats I talk about and things I talk about are factoring in, what is it, 57 games being played. So I will also mention that when I'm talking about the things. But it's been a pretty good. It didn't register the Bengals game. Bengals Dolphins game. I was watching that one. Let me back out of this real quick so I can get it to register. Okay. Alright, so yeah, 57 games played. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No? Okay. So that should be 58 games played then. Okay. Alright, so 58. So the numbers I give maybe just like a smidge off, but no big deal. 58 games played. Okay. Um, so far, it's been a very interesting first few weeks of the league. I'm really happy with the competitiveness I've seen in the games. In this game, you can't really rest on your laurels in many situations. There, a lot of things just go back and forth. I was watching the Dolphins Bengal game, and Dirty got up like 18 points, I think, before half. He got, I think it was an interception or something like that, and then he got a fumble and scored a touchdown after that. I think that was all before halftime or shortly after it. And he then he gave up a touchdown. And I think right after that he got a fumble a fumble against them for 6, and then or a pick six, something like that, and Hollis was right back in the game. So like momentum changes so quickly, and I think that's a product of the game itself and sim. And I'll talk about that a little bit as well. And that was an interesting game to watch. I also watched the Dolphins game, the Broncos game with Quan. That was another interesting game. It was interesting seeing or hearing Gaz go off on his get so frustrated with both Quan and his. We all know how that gets. Like, if you get a text message from someone or something like that, or someone calls you in the middle of a game and you're up, 42-0, it's no big deal. You'll look at your phone, you'll look at the text, and it's like, whatever, I'll answer it. But if you're at the tight game or you're losing, like any little thing that happens will annoy you, and that's just different situations require different responses. It's like if you've just thrown a bad pick, like 5 seconds after you got a text message, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe someone just texted me, or you can't believe someone called me, like all those types of things, even though it really has nothing to do with your poor decision making. Um, and I've that's happened to me many a time. Like my, well, not really my dog, but I've had my fiance come in and just ask me some question that is um innocuous. Like she needed the question answered because she needed to know, and she can see and hear the frustration in my answer, and then she knows, like, okay, well, this is the end of the conversation, and she leaves. So it's really interesting, just to human nature, like when things are going poorly, and when they're going well, how we respond to those kinds of things. So, with that being said, all the for the most part, the games that I've watched have been good. I've turned off some that I've watched because, um, like, I was watching the Saints game with the Vikings. Um, Ramey got up like 21 points, and I just stopped watching. I think because someone else came on or something like that. And um, Also, I stopped watching some of the games that I was watching because Serena was playing. Shout out to Serena. She won her second round match. So she's on to the third round. So shout out to her. But anyway, so the first thing I'll get to is my five biggest takeaways of these first little bit of this game and Madden and this league and Madden and Sim in general. So the number five on the list is the offenses are just simply different from what I've seen. I think it's the product of the number two thing I'm going to mention, but I think that it's offenses are just different. People aren't able to roll out. They aren't able to break the pocket. It's you don't see a whole lot of play action. People are just passing. They're not running play action. They're just going to pass and pass. Um, and that's because of blitz, I imagine. But I think that because of how early it is in the game, offenses we're still learning what does work and all that other stuff. So um, that's the one of the number five on my list of things that I've noticed. Number four, jump balls, and having a good wide receiver, just a good one, doesn't necessarily have to be a wide receiver that is, um, you know, has abilities or whatever in order to be successful. You can have like a 86 overall guy who's just good, and when he goes up against a corner that he's better than, he's gonna beat him on a corner route just because he's better than him. And I think that's a product of Sim. Also, and with the jump balls, I watched Mike Evans dunk on me two or three times in my game against Seattle. Just he's great, and the corner that was defending him isn't as great. And when you have those big body wide receivers, the last touchdown of the game with Cincinnati versus Miami, he threw, it was like, what, 15 seconds left. He threw it up to Donald Parham, 6'8" tight end, and he caught that. I mean, he didn't catch it necessarily in traffic, but he was hit as soon as he came down with the ball. And in Madden 22, probably, that is not a catch. A lot of these catch and traffic things are not catches in Madden 22, and they are now. And I think that is a product of the way we're playing, which is interesting. It's just a different thing that we have to get ourselves familiar with. Number three. So that was number four. The jump balls and having a good wide receiver. Um, Number three. I'm not seeing any unstoppable plays or unstoppable formations. Everything that I've seen as far as formations people are running, the plays people are running, there are adjustments you can make to defend it. Some things are harder than others to stop, but there's only been one thing that I've seen so far that I've played against that I don't really know for sure what to do with yet. But I will be working on that. That's one of the things that I have on my list of things to do. But it also involves um, someone else to help me with that. Let's see. Oh, before we get any further, I just wanted to shout out my co-host, my dog Gas. If it wasn't for him helping me out and doing the draft for me, I wouldn't be in this league. Because I told him that if I wasn't going to be able to draft my players, I wasn't going to be in the league. That's I did not want to end up with a bunch of players that I didn't want, and I also didn't want to have to in turn either sell off everybody or just completely tank because my team was just really bad. So shout out to Gas. That's my dog, and he drafted me a great team. So whatever success I have this season, you can give a nice little hat tip to Gas for whatever success we have. He helped build this squad, and after the fact, of course, I've done what I've done, but he did what I needed him to do, and I couldn't appreciate him more for what he did. Um, so back to what I was saying about unstoppable plays. I haven't seen any too many things where well, I just can't. I don't have anything in my arsenal to deal with it, and I think that is partly because people don't really have time. Like the pockets collapse, and you can't really get out of the pocket to set up some of those zone busting routes like you could in Madden 22. So, like in Madden 22, you double the outside defensive end, scramble out of the pocket, and you're good. You can still double the defensive end. You can still get out of the pocket, but what you can't do is get out of there super fast, and that's something that is helpful because now the defensive players can catch up to you, and you don't have the time that you used to have to make those types of plays. So, and also, I mean, the main caveat being this is still early. So by the time we get to, December, January, it's entirely possible that everyone's got an arsenal of players or of plays that are going to be unstoppable or very difficult to stop. Um, at the end of the year, Hollis's offense was really, really difficult to stop, and that's why he ended up with two Super Bowls at the end. He had all the players at the right place, and his team was just very difficult to stop. Um, but I think as we go with regression and no buying of abilities or of X factors, I think it'll make team building a little bit different for people. I think at last count, like we had like 25, 26 X factor quarterbacks, maybe a little bit more. So we're not going to be that this year. I highly doubt. So we'll see how team building goes, and how important it is to have those great quarterbacks, and in turn the great players around them as well. Number two on the list is blitzing. There are so many zero blitzes. You watch a game and you see it most of the game with a lot of different people. This isn't specific to one person or two people or however many, but it is something that is very, very prevalent in the league, and that's just part of how the game is going right now. So as the year goes on, it may get a little bit different, but right now it is just a lot of zero blitzes. A lot of people are just sending seven, sending eight, and then and then just trying to gamble and see if they can get a pick or a fumble or this and that. Um, so in the end, um, the blitzing. I don't want to say it's out of control, but it is rampant throughout the league, and I mean there obviously are ways to beat it. It's just a difficult thing to do. I know Gas posted the um, defense for the 3-3-5 blitz, and that's fantastic. Um, but I think that a lot of people are doing different blitzes now. I think with the pad up or help defend a little bit better, but now people are just sending more guys in different combinations. But with the zero blitz, if you don't have the players that are going to beat the man to man, it makes for a really, really long game. Um, so that's just unfortunate that that's the biggest thing to do right now. And this isn't a this isn't a particular statement about any team or any person. It's just a lot of blitzing, and you really just have to have the players to attack it, and that's one of those things that when you do drafts like this so early in the Madden year, where you don't know exactly what the meta is, um, you could draft your team, and then it could be completely incorrect as by the time we get things started. So that's one of the downsides to drafting as early as we do, and because we want to get so many seasons in, and because we draft so early, that we don't always get the opportunity to build our team how it fits the game. Um, and last year I drafted my team based off of what I knew from Madden 20, and I was still successful, but it wasn't the success that I normally hold myself to. So um, this year I drafted a little bit differently, and fortunately I didn't have to make those decisions because it's different when you're in the seat and you have to make those choices for whether you go for an older player or a younger player with higher potential. Okay, so that's in as for number two, and now number one, by far my biggest takeaway with this league so far and sim: fumbles. Fumbles, fumbles, fumbles. They are insane. Um, I've had a game where Christian McCaffrey, who's got like 95, 96 carry, fumbled the ball 3 times in one game, including the first play of the game. I've mentioned that before, but it's incredible how frequently people fumble the ball. It is insane. So I went back and I looked at the numbers. I went to Madden 22 and I looked at the stats because Fantasy 281 is still up, but it was this last season where not many people were playing. However, in that season, in the entirety of the season, which is 272 games, there were a total of 88 fumbles. 88. Okay? 88 fumbles in 272 games. So that's a fumble every 3 games or so. Every every 3 games as a fumble. So far this year, um, as an aside, the recovery rate, I don't know why I wrote this number down, but the recovery rate among fumbles on that is 70%. So 7 out of 10 times when you fumble, the opponent's going to get it. I mean, I don't know why that number fascinated me, but I just thought it was worth noting, especially when I was looking at the numbers going forward. Um, in this year so far, through 58 games, there have been, let's see, 75 fumbles. 75, and we are 215 games fewer than that. We are currently averaging. I had that written down and I messed that up. Darn. Okay, 75 divided by 58. We're averaging 1.3 fumbles per game at this point. That is almost it is quadruple the rate of it that it was in the last season of Madden. That is ridiculous. Like I don't know what the numbers say in real life, but I highly doubt that there is that many fumbles over the course of a game, or sorry, of a season. So we're looking at probably having maybe 400 fumbles this year. And that's crazy. That is crazy, especially when you're talking about this, how frequently this can change the game. Like in the Dolphins Bengals game, there were 3 fumbles just in the second half, and both of those completely changed the momentum of the game. I'm sorry, all 3 of them did. So it's just, I just, I mean, I don't know what the fix is here, but there is just an inordinate amount of fumbles. When you just compare it to the last season of 281 last year, it by the end of week 5, we'll be at the same amount of fumbles, at least, if not more than that. And that's just crazy. Um, and the frustrating part about fumbles is that you don't have a great deal of control over them. Like if you look at the recap I did of my game versus the Browns, like the fumble that I got for against Trey was one that made no sense. Like my player was trying to push the player down, but because of the animation, he didn't touch his back. He pushed through his back into the ball and caused the fumble that way. That's just a ridiculous mechanic in the game. But anyway, fumbles. That's just an insane amount of fumbles, and also interceptions. Some like it could be first season and everything. It could be first season, could be blitzing, could be that a lot of people have bad quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. But the rate at which we're throwing interceptions is hilariously bad. I think it may be only a handful, maybe a little bit more of quarterbacks with a positive interception ratio. But I went back to the second to last season of 281, where a lot of people were playing their games, but not everybody was. But a lot of people were. And in 272 games, there were 799 interceptions thrown. That comes out to 2.93 interceptions per game. I mean that's a lot higher than the NFL rate, but it's not crazy when you're talking about Matt. When you look at the statistics for so far through 58 games, we as a league have thrown 357 interceptions. That works out to 6.2 interceptions per game. So between both quarterbacks, they're averaging throwing 6 interceptions a game, and some people have fewer than that as a team, or they're right around there as a team, but that means their opponent is probably throwing 6 in their game. Like it's when you look at an average as a baseline, it's crazy. 6 interceptions, and I mean I'll try and keep track of this over the course of the years, over the seasons, but um, I'm not going to say for sure whether it's him or not, whether it's the new passing mechanics, whether it's whatever it is. But 6 interceptions between both users each game is pretty crazy. All right, so enough about the stats. I'll talk about. Oh, actually, one thing I did want to talk about regarding Sim. One of the biggest things I said was that no matter what, the cream is always going to rise to the top. And so far this season, that is continuing to hold true. When you look at the 6 players who were or are considered whatever rankings or levels or whatever you want to rank them, um, and I'm just going to pick the 6 that I do not recall missing the playoffs. So if I don't say your name in this 6, I'm sorry. I recall you missing the playoffs last year, and if you didn't, then I apologize. But anyway, the 6 people I'm going to mention: Wilson, Eric, myself, Gas, Ron Harden, and Hollis. I know Hollis was he only came in the last couple seasons, but he did win the last 2 Super Bowls, so it would be criminal to leave him out of that. So between those 6, they're 18-4, and 4 of the 6 have no losses. So, I mean, as it is always mentioned, like the good players are going to be good players, regardless of you know what what mode we're playing on, what we're doing. The good players will remain good players. So, guys like Quan and Ramey and Jeremy Strong, I probably left him out. I think he made the playoffs pretty much every year. He's 3-1, so that would put 21-5. So either way, like the good players are continuing to be the good players year in and year out. But when it comes to sim, it does close the skill gap a little bit, and it is up to each person's preference, whether you want that to be the case. Like it, I don't really know what to compare it to, because I can understand both sides. How you don't want to be the person that spent a whole bunch of time spending getting better at the game and have fluky things, or have the game assist someone with staying close to you when they really shouldn't be. But at the same time, you don't want it to be a matter of, well, I spent 800 hours learning exactly what beats what every single situation, and this and this and this, so I'm just going to beat everybody by 8 million points. That's not fair either. Just because you have more time than everyone else to spend to devote into this, doesn't mean that it's either fair or fun, if you're just rolling through everyone. So I understand both sides of it. For the league, it's probably better to have everyone as invested as possible, knowing that any given game, anything can happen. I know E's almost lost one game, I think. Dirty almost could have beaten E and Hollis, so that's an interesting little combination. Gas has lost twice. Wilson, I don't think he's had any close games. Um, yeah, so the Viking. Well, he had a close game. Actually, he had to come back against McGregor. So everybody's had their share of close games. And me, when we first did this thing, I lost to Remy in week one, and then the second time around I beat him. Um, and Ron, I'm sorry. So I apologize for saying Harden. I know you got your name is Ridley. Sorry about that. And he's got two losses, and I think one of them he got smoked, right? Yeah, he got smoked by Wilson, and then he lost by 3 to the Vikings. So it's there's a lot of closer games. Like it's not just. I mean, the good players are remaining to be the good players, but at the same time, there are some close games, and that's good. Um, but when you play close games, you can get that fluky stuff, and that's where the frustration is when you're dealing with people who are hyper competitive, and we all feel like we are the best or top tier or this or that or whatever. We all feel like that about our game, and when we have things that are taken away from us because of things that we don't really have a lot of control over, it's frustrating. One thing that I saw from Dirty when I was watching his stream, when he fumbled at the when he fumbled the ball away to lose the lead like towards the end of the game, he didn't even yell. Like he was just like, well, that guy's not getting the ball anymore. Like it's understandable to have that. It's commendable rather to have that level of serenity there. Even though, I mean, we all know how emotional Dirty can get. So, um, but I don't know if the stream is still up. But if you go back and watch it, he's like, well, like, and he didn't really even complain about the game, so that's good. But in my head, I was like, oh man, that sucks for him. So I mean, I think that it's probably circling back to the fumbles a bit, it's probably better if you just go on conservative ball carrying. I know you can't do any moves or anything, but it's better than fumbling, I guess. But at the same time, you're going to give up extra yards. Your running backs aren't going to fight for yardage. So, and and I don't and I don't think that should be the give and take. Like it shouldn't be you fumble at an inordinate rate, or you just get no yardage. That's just a difficult thing to fathom. So Anyway, so now let's talk about the divisions here. All right. So the first one we're going to talk about, I think, is AFC North. Yeah. All right, so AFC North. I'm only going to talk about these divisions briefly because I'm also not sure what kind of show that Ron and Andrew are going to do. So once I watch their show and figure out how they're doing these things, that'll determine how I go about doing things with my shows because they're doing every four, and I'm doing every four too. So so I forgive me if I don't talk about. I'm not going to talk about the bottom two teams in each division. I'm sorry, but once I figure out what they're doing on their end, I will be more in depth as far as discussing all players in the division. So, AFC North, Bengals and Ravens. These guys won almost every bowl last. Madden, Hollis won the last two. EU won four. So that's that's impressive, and they're in the same division. Right now, the point differential is vastly in the favor of Hollis, and they have a game coming up week 5, which I am hoping to tune into. So if you guys watch this, please tag me. I really want to watch it. And anyone, if you see them trying to sneak this, they're trying to sneak this stream into the comments section, please tag me and multiple people and make a different post. I tell you really should make that a rule that you gotta post a new post on the board because E is infamous for for stashing his streams in the comments of a scheduled post. Nah, he put that thing out onto the page so we can get notifications. So that's my little soapbox thing. Anyway, so aside from their matchup in week 5, Hollis has a matchup with the Saints in week 6, so that should be interesting also. AFC South, top two leaders are the Jags, who is Jeremy Strong, and the Texans. Oh, I thought Strong was 3-1. So he's 3-0. So that would make those guys who didn't miss the playoffs 21-4. Just to circle back to that. And the Texans, which is Dale, point differential of 6 points. So that's not too great at the moment. They do have a matchup coming up in week 5, so that's interesting. And then the Jags play Denver in week 8, and the Texans play Vegas in week 7. AFC East, dirty Heat. Like, Heat could be 4-0, and I know that we would be inundated with videos and all that of of videos and posts of Dirty if he was 4-0. Like, had he beaten E, had he beaten Hollis, like he would have posted, I think. And if I was him, I would come out of that game feeling pretty good because I played. If I were him, I played well. I played well enough to win. Coin flip game, win against me these 2 times. Coin flip game, next 2 times might go my way. So when you lose the 50-50 games, it's those are always tough, but you just gotta keep on battling. And he's atop his division right now. He's got two good matchups coming up. In week 8, he's got the Lions, and then week 6, he's got the Vikings. The Bills, who are Hankel, he's got a game this week against E, and he also has KC week 6. I'm always rooting for the Bills, no matter who's got them. So go Bills, Hankel. AFC West, I'm not going to talk about my dog because he is 3rd in the division. Raiders, 3-1. Chiefs, 3-1. Raiders are just coming off a win against the Broncos. But he's got 3 matchups the next 4 weeks against people who are in top 2. He's got the KC week 5, Houston week 7, and then the Saints in week 8. And the Chiefs also have 3 of those types of matchups coming up also. As I mentioned, Vegas week 5, Buffalo week 6, and the Niners in week 7. So those are, we'll know a little bit more about these top 2 squads in the coming weeks. So the next time we do this, we'll have a lot more clarity. Not as much clarity as we want, but a lot more. NFC North, Wilson's running away with that currently, mainly because he played both the Vikings. I don't think he's played the Packers, so I take that back. He's played the Vikings, and he demolished them, from what I recall. I keep thinking that Ron is the Packers. Ron Ridley is the Packers, and he's not. That's Prey. So Prey, he just lost a tough one. Oh, I mentioned a third place team. Sorry about that. In the Vikings, Jameel Bundy. Um, so he's been playing really well. He had two tough games the last 2 weeks. I think he had the Lions took those losses, so he's got a battle bag there. And in the South, you have myself and Ramey. His only loss so far this year is to myself. And I have upcoming the Niners in week 6 and also the Bengals in week 7. So, um, you know, I think those will be two games that are really important for me. They're both undefeated right now. So, really battle. We'll see how we're looking, how the teams are looking upcoming. Um, then the Saints, they have the Bengals week 6, and then the Raiders week 8. Circling back to the North, sorry about that. The Lions have Dallas on week 7, and then Miami week 8. And then the Vikings have Miami week 6. And I mentioned that when I was talking about them, but it's what it is. So the NFC East, this division is going to be really interesting. Right now it's the battle of the Rons. We've got Ron Ridley and then Ron Clark. Um, I don't really know what to make of it. I would assume that Ridley is going to turn it around, but we'll see as far as that goes. Like if well, we can't base everything off of one matchup, and the fact that he lost by a lot to Wilson shouldn't be indicative of what he's going to do or how he's going to play. But I mean, you still can't forget that either. And Clark, he's now 2-2. He's leading the division sort of, because Ron doesn't have his game in. Nfc West, Thomas Strong, he is 4-0. He just played Self. Self's 2 losses are to undefeated teams, so you can't really be too mad about that. I did it again. NFC East, their upcoming games. Ron has Dallas week. I'm sorry, Ron Ridley has Dallas week 6. The Cowboys, Ron Clark has the Rams week 5. As I mentioned, the Eagles week 6 and Detroit week 7. So the next time we do this, the Eagles could have a nice little lead in the division depending on how those games go. And finally, NFC West, Thomas Strong has myself week 6, KC week 7, and then the Rams in week 8. And the Rams have Dallas week 5 and Niners week 8. So all these top 2 teams are playing other teams in the top 2. Everyone has at least one of those matchups in the upcoming week. So that's going to be interesting to see how those matchups turn about. Let's see how are we on time here. We're at oh wow, we're only at 38 minutes. Whoa. All right, that's nice. I've done pretty well on time. I usually don't. It usually goes an hour or so. So, not diving so much into everything is making it a little bit better, I think, or possibly. I don't know. Oh shoot, wrong one. So I mention it almost every video that I do. Turnover differential. That is, I think, one of the best indicators of success. I think that I don't know how far it goes back, but I am fairly certain that like it was maybe a 90% win rate if you won the turnover battle in the playoffs. Like I think it was even higher than that. I think that I can recall only maybe one or two times that I can really remember someone losing the turnover battle and winning the game. The most notable time was when Dirty was the Falcons and he was playing Eric in the playoffs, and he had the game, and Eric drove down late in the game and threw a touchdown right side of the end zone towards the end, and that's how he beat Dirty. But he lost a turnover battle in that game. Um, so winning the turnover battle is incredibly important. There's only like one or two teams with winning records and a losing turnover diff. One, two, yeah, two teams. So I think that you'll see this a little bit more over the course of the season, is how the turnover differential plays a big factor. Um, when you're seeing early a negative 12, that's 0-4 squats. Like it's 2-2 -5. So this was more so because of the Browns' most recent game. I think he was like -6 in just that game alone. So bad games happen. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that completely. But you gotta mitigate it as much as you can. Lions have the least amount of interceptions. So while these guys have thrown 5 so far in the season, there's 6 going on each game. Um, the Browns aren't causing a lot of turnovers. Um, Giants. All right. The other thing that I look at is conversion rates and then red zone stuff. So third down conversions. I remember a little bit about. Um, I want to say it was like 50% or more of the people in the league, or 40%, something like that, had a conversion rate of higher than 50%. Something along those lines. I'd have to go back to the video and look at it, but or rather, maybe it was higher than the NFL conversion rate. At any rate, we're still rocking at a really good clip as far as conversion rates. Of people, a lot of people have 40% or higher conversion rate, and not a lot of people with higher than 50. There's only 6 teams right now with a conversion rate of 50% or higher, and um, that's because we don't really have a lot of plays yet that we can all depend on. The Raiders lead the league in fourth down attempts at 10. Um, I fully expect that to be. I fully expected that to be strong. Like he's usually the king of going for it on fourth down. Right now he's at 3, so I don't know what's up with that. 2-point conversions. Okay, so Quan has 8 2-point conversion attempts. That's interesting. And Hollis, who was notorious for it, only has 2. So that's interesting. I wonder if there was something done to that Trey play that he was running for 2-point conversions. Or maybe he's waiting to whip out his 2-point conversion play in the postseason. We'll see. But right now, Quan's at 8 and only converting 3, so that's not a good rate. All you have to do is convert 55 or 51% of your 2-point conversions for it to be a positive play. And I keep saying it. One of these seasons, I'm gonna I'm gonna try and go a whole year going for 2 every time just to see what the rates look like. But I always say it, and then I've never done it in my entire existence playing Madden. All right, so red zone percentages. This is pretty crazy. I haven't looked at these numbers, but only only 2 teams are getting touchdowns at more than half the time when you get into the red zone. That is a testament to defense. Like, seriously. When you look at Hollis here, he's had 32 offensive trips into the red zone, only scored touchdowns in 11 of them. That's crazy. That's like defense is really, really difficult right now. And that's something that everyone has to shore up by the time we get to the playoffs. Because wow, it looks like that number seems to be. It's got to be a little bit off somehow. Because if I don't know whether Hollis he can't have 0 field goals and 11 offensive touchdowns because that would mean what? He hasn't thrown 19 interceptions, right? Hmm. Investigative reporting. 14 interceptions. 3 fumbles lost. So at worst, that is 17 plus 11 is 28. And then fourth down conversions. All right, well, something's off about the math here, unless he's kneeling him out. So, I don't know. I don't know exactly what's up with that, but it's a lot of trips into the red zone. Yeah, 25, 25. Something's got to be off here. Like, there's got to be something wrong in the math. Like, now that I'm looking at it a little bit better, that there's something's got to be off about the math. But defense is still difficult. The Chiefs have only defense is defense is difficult, but something seems to be off about this math. Whether your defense is good or bad, there's got to be something off about it. Okay, penalties. All right, so it looks like, despite the complaints we've had about Sim and there being penalties, there have been 2 teams that haven't had a penalty called on them, and they've both played all their games. Now, does that mean that they have all disciplined players? Probably not. Just luck of the draw. The Raiders have been called for 10. He's got 1 sim, so maybe that is factored in there. Lions have played all their games. He's got 7 penalties called. So maybe we need to raise the penalties up a little tick, huh? Maybe not, but the rate's still not very high. All right. So right now, Hollis is leading the league in points per game, 50 points per game. Jeremy Strong, 48. I'm really surprised. He's usually a runner, so we'll see. We'll see how things go there. 30. I think he's going to be a problem. I think he's going to be a problem in the AFC East at least. Depending on how the matchups go, depending on who he faces, I think I'm calling it here first. Dirty's going to be a problem. Just from the way he's playing and the way he's able to run the ball right now. I've watched his games. I watched his game against Hollis specifically, but Dirty, if you're still watching at this point, yeah, the reason why all your guys were yellow were probably because in your practice you either had them in full pads or half pads when they were already tired. So that's why they end up really tired in the game. I mean, I know that's something you probably know, but just for people who just run through the weekly strategy, just go full pads and all starters and all that every time. That's probably how you end up with no yellow players. Like I've come up with a system that really helps me until like week 11 or so, week 12. Then you have to adjust it a little bit, but yeah. I don't have a whole lot more. I don't want to dive too much more into this. I didn't pursue my co-host today just because I just felt like getting this first show out of the way, and then we can on in the next show, I'll have him around, or hopefully I'll have him, with me to do the show, and we'll let him talk his trash because that's what he does, and get more of his thoughts on how his season's going and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to continuing to see how the season's gonna go, and I'm just happy with happy most first of all with my team. I think they're well built, and we didn't get our draft review videos mainly because we just hit the ground friggin' running as a group, and we all just were super active, and it's been really fun to watch so many games. Like every night, I've I've had work on my one computer, and then like games on my other, just watching the games, and it's been really cool to just watch some of the games, listen to some of the games, and enjoy that aspect of it. So I'm excited for 281, and this is all this activity is just a testament to y'all, and I'm just happy to be in this league with you guys. So the Falcons are out, um, and yeah, if anyone's got any suggestions, questions, comments, concerns, feel free to mention them. Um, Yeah, I do this for you guys, so this activity is all I really want is just to get a discourse going, have some talking, just talk about things. Like if y'all really need me to do a power ranking in order to get some activity, then that's something I can do. That's the best way to get things lit up in the league. But hopefully, this analysis-driven um, show works for you guys too. So. We out of here. Peace.